In the sky above New Delhi, India, two aircraft communicate with the control tower. They are in the same airspace on opposite headings. The probability of their colliding in mid-air is 1 in 100 million. But for these aircraft and the 349 people aboard them, that probability is about to be realized. At 6:40 p.m., two aircraft collide in the world's worst mid-air collision in history.
Delhi. Saudi 763. Saudi 763.
The Indira Gandhi International Airport, New Delhi, India. November the 12th, 1996. The evening shift started as any other would. 5:30 was a demanding time for the air traffic control tower. The International Departure Terminal, too, was a hub of activity. Passengers slowly filtered in after brief goodbyes from relatives and well-wishers. The evening also started, as any other day would, for V.K. Datta, a senior air traffic controller. He was about to finish his regular shift. His responsibility was to guide all incoming traffic to Delhi Airport. On November the 12th, 1996, he was also responsible for all outgoing traffic. At 6:33 p.m., Saudi Airlines 763, under the command of Captain Khalid Al-Shubhaili, co-pilot Nasir Khan, and flight engineer Edris.
In my dreams, I saw a man who told me to hold on to my heart.
Two aircraft are in the same airspace on opposite headings. The probability of their colliding head-on in the air is 1 in 100 million. Yet it happened. Why?
Mid-air collision accidents can take place due to pilots not adhering to ATC instructions, number one. Number two, error in the instrument readings. Number three, erroneous instructions by the air traffic controller.
Saudi 763 approaching flight level
100 for higher.
Roger, climb flight level 140.
Roger, climb 140 Saudi 763.
V.K. Datta, the air traffic controller, tells Saudi 763 to climb to 14,000 feet.
Delhi approach, good evening. Kazakhstan 1907.
Now passing 230 for 180. Kazakh 1907, descend to flight level 150, report reaching.
Descending 150.
Copy reaching
Kazakhstan 1907.
He then instructs Kazakh 1907 to descend to 15,000 feet.
Saudi 763 approaching 140 for higher. Roger.
Maintain flight level 140, stand by for higher.
Saudi 763 will
maintain 140.
There can be a chain of reasons due to which something like this may happen. One of the main primary reasons is distractions in the cockpit.
1907, report region beyond.
VK Datta warns Kazakh 1907 about Saudi 763 at 14,000 feet.
Identified traffic, 12 o'clock, reciprocal.
Saudi Boeing 747.
But to no avail. At 6:40 p.m., the seemingly impossible happens. Saudi 763 and Kazakh 1907 crash in mid-air over New Delhi in the world's worst mid-air collision in history. 349 lives are lost in a split second. A Kazakhstan Airlines jet carrying 27 passengers and a Saudi Arabian Airlines Boeing 747 carrying 289 passengers crash in mid-air over the northern Indian state of Haryana.
Village. Who could eat? It felt like we had lost our family.
Relatives came looking for their people. They asked us to help, but how could we identify them? They were beyond recognition. Some of them couldn't speak. Their pain was evident.
The full extent of the tragedy was visible from the air. The wreckage of the two aircraft was spread over 7 kilometers. Whatever was left of Saudi 763 was either buried in the ground or lay scattered in tangled heaps of molten metal. And they too told a story. They told the investigators how the Boeing 747 disintegrated in mid-air.
747 had lost its tail plane, went out of control, spinning violently, whereby the wings separated and the 4 engines fell miles apart.
Kazakh 1907 had survived in bits and pieces. The cockpit shattered, but the burnt instrument console was still intact. Charred remains of its fuselage stood as a lone witness to a startling fact that the aircraft had not disintegrated in mid-air.
So that means that it had some flyability until very close to the ground, but it broke after impact on the ground.
Primary investigation of the wreckage suggested 2 points of impact.
The 747, I believe, was fairly straight and level, whereas the Kazakh aircraft was a slightly bank turn and offset slightly, so that the wings contacted each other first, one wing off of the Kazakh aircraft and certainly the tail off of the 747, and that led to the crash.
And as far as the altitude of impact was concerned, the only clue was from one of the altimeters of Kazakh 1907 found in the wreckage. It was frozen at 14,895 feet.
It could be anything. There are so many evidences which are to be collected and to be compiled and studied, analyzed, and we were mostly interested in now looking for the black boxes, which are the prime evidence material for any aircraft accident.
The 2 black boxes were found the day after. The Indian Court of Inquiry, the investigation agency, sealed the black boxes and sent them for decoding. While Kazakh 1907's black box would be decoded in Moscow, Saudi 763's black box would be decoded in the United Kingdom. But to begin with, the investigation headed not too far from Cherki Dadri to the Air Traffic Control, the ATC.
What happened is something which should not have happened has happened. In no ATC in the world would ever like a mid-air collision accident to take place. And immediately it is felt that...
The International Civil Aviation Organization. But shouldn't VK Datta warn them of each other? He does. 1 minute from impact, VK Datta warns Kazakh 1907
Saudi Boeing 747
of Saudi 763 at 14,000 feet, 8 miles in front of them. But he does not warn the Saudi aircraft.
The requirement doesn't say that, but should not take it for granted when two blips are merging that they are vertically separated. Ensure they are vertically separated by repeat messages.
But the fact remains that VK Datta was a silent spectator to the mid-air collision.
1907 report position.
He had told the aircraft to stay at separate altitudes. He was assuming that they would pass each other safely. They had 1,000 feet between them.
Because he was thinking probably they were merging and going to reappear in both the sides, and waiting for giving a further descent clearance to the incoming aircraft and climb clearance to the Saudi outgoing.
It was evident that one of the aircraft, or both the aircraft, had breached its assigned flight level. By how much? And why? Three months after the accident, on a cold February morning in Moscow, the black box of Kazakh 1907 was cut open. The investigators heard the voices of the Kazakh crew for the first time.
Maintain flight level 150, identify traffic, fellow clock, reciprocal, Saudi, Boeing 747 at 10 miles, likely to cross to another 5 miles. Report if inside. Mountain 150, Kazakhstan 1907. Report how many miles?
It was clear from the tape that the air traffic controller instructed the Kazakh crew to stay at 15,000 feet. He also told them to look out for the Saudi aircraft and to report back once they had sighted it. The turning point of the investigation was when the digital flight data recorder that records altitude, speed and other technical parameters was decoded. It ruled out technical malfunction. The altitude of impact could not be calculated with accuracy. It had a huge margin of error. But the graph revealed a startling fact. Kazakh 1907 had descended below 15,000 feet.
This was a point which we all...
Changarov not monitor the altitude? Could he have been too busy battling bad weather?
The sorts of weather conditions that can cause an aircraft to lose a great deal of altitude are things like thunderstorm activity, where you get updrafts and downdrafts in the center of a thundercloud. That could have caused one of them to descend or another to climb.
But on November the 12th, 1996, the Met Department had not issued a severe weather warning. It was slightly foggy, there were scattered clouds, and that was about it. Most importantly, Kazakh 1907's cockpit voice recorder did not record any intra-cockpit conversation relating to bad weather. Neither did the digital flight data recorder record sudden changes in the aircraft's movements, nor any severe weather condition. There was no sudden descent. Kazakh 1907 had descended gradually.
I don't think that the actual weather conditions would have caused the Kazakh aircraft to descend at all.
It was like a jigsaw puzzle whose pieces just didn't fit. Kazakh 1907 had descended below its assigned 15,000 feet. But the altimeter found in the wreckage was frozen at 14,895 feet. If that's the altitude at which the collision occurred, it meant that even the Saudi aircraft had breached its assigned altitude. It had climbed above 14,000 feet. Now, all the answers lay in the black box of Saudi 763. At the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau in Farnborough in the United Kingdom, the black box of Saudi 763 was cut open. The investigators heard the voices of the crew of Saudi 763 for the first time. It was clear from the tapes that the air traffic controller had instructed the Saudi crew to climb to 14,000 feet and stay there until further notice. Saudi 763's digital flight data recorder was analyzed. The altitude of impact was 14,000 feet. The margin of error was plus or minus 120 feet. Saudi 763 did not ascend above 14,000 feet. Kazakh 1907 had descended below 15,000 feet. Why had Kazakh 1907 come down? Why was one of the altimeters in the Kazakh aircraft frozen at 14,895 feet? What could possibly be the explanation for it? What had happened in the cockpit of Kazakh 1907? It has been 5 years since the dissolution of the Soviet Union. The Commonwealth of Independent States are struggling to stabilize their economies amidst a politically volatile environment. Their airlines are no different. It only leads to the catastrophe. In the world's worst mid-air collision, the sequence started 8 minutes before impact, at 6:33 p.m., when Saudi 763 takes off. VK Data assigns them 10,000 feet. Kazakh 1907 is at about 23,000 feet. Both aircraft are in the same airspace on opposite headings. This should not have happened. This is the first mistake, the first link in the chain of events that leads to the disaster. To avoid this, the airspace above Delhi Airport should have been unidirectional. There should be 2 separate air corridors, one for the departing aircraft and the other for arriving aircraft. Then 2 aircraft on opposite headings would never share the same airspace. But this wasn't the case at Delhi Airport. There just wasn't enough room. Part of the airspace is reserved for the Indian Air Force.
Why do we always have to wait for any kind of disaster, a catastrophic disaster? Can't we do it before so many innocent lives are lost? There may be certain constraints which I can understand, but not to an extent where we have to wait for a crash, or it is something like a time bomb ticking.
The time bomb is ticking. 6 minutes to impact. Kazakh 1907 contacts VK Data for the first time. He assigns them 15,000 feet.
Descend to flight level 150, report reaching.
Descend in 150.
The radio operator acknowledges the height, but astonishingly does not inform the 2 pilots. Worse still, the navigator also hears the assigned flight level on his headset. He is heard converting it to meters for the 2 pilots, but neither of them acknowledges the assigned height. This is the second mistake, the second link to disaster.
My personal view is that there was confusion with the pilots about what their cleared altitude was. There may have been some language difficulties.
The pilot and co-pilot's knowledge of English is limited. The radio operator is translating all commands from the Delhi Air Traffic Control for them.
Pilot flies, gets the information, directly makes a lot of difference. The reactions are spontaneous, instantaneous.
Saudi 763 approaching flight level 100 for higher.
Roger, flight level 140. Further climb 140, Saudi 763.
2 minutes to impact. Kazakh 1907 is gradually descending. It's now at about 16,000 feet. Captain Cherepenov, the pilot who is not flying, is supposed to inform the cockpit crew of the estimated time and height to level out. He never does. This is the third link to the disaster.
He was the captain of the aircraft, he's the commander of the ship, so he should have known.
The flight engineer responds by calling out, "Holding."
What I feel has happened at that point of time is that the engineer has realized that the aircraft has gone below 150. He has started opening power, anticipating the next moment I will get a call for climbing or accelerating. But the captain is not yet sure, or maybe he's made a gesture to the flight engineer that hold the power.
Kazakh 1907 holds its course. It keeps descending. Seconds later, it will collide with Saudi 763 at 14,000 feet. But even now, there is a last resort. The pilots of Kazakhstan Airlines 1907 don't know that their assigned altitude is 15,000 feet.
What flight level have you been ordered?
The air traffic controller can't warn them. He doesn't have secondary surveillance radar. There is a last resort. But neither of the aircraft has TCAS, traffic collision avoidance systems, installed. They do not have onboard computers that can warn them of another aircraft directly in front of them and suggest evasive action.
That is the last filter for collision avoidance, which is independent of any ground control, any ground radar. It is aircraft to aircraft. Collision avoidance systems give time which is sufficient in most cases to avoid collisions.
But the Civil Aviation Ministry never made TCAS mandatory over Indian airspace by 1996. It took India a mid-air collision to implement these systems. The sixth and the final link to the collision is complete. 2 seconds to impact. Saudi 763 is at 14,000 feet. Kazakh 1907 is at about 14,000 feet. The radio operator shouts out a warning. The captain asks for full power. If only he hadn't. Kazakh 1907 would have passed safely below Saudi 763, but it's too late. The flight engineer opens full power on all engines. Kazakh 1907 accelerates to climb to 15,000 feet. There's chaos in the cockpit. Everyone's screaming. They have just seen Saudi 763 coming towards them. At 6:40 p.m., 14,000 feet over Cherki Dadri, the left wing of Kazakh 1907 crashes into the 2 left engines of Saudi 763. Saudi 763 catches fire instantaneously. It goes into a nosedive. Spinning violently, Saudi 763 disintegrates in midair.